For over 1,000 years, Western civilization has been stuck in a dark age of sexual repression and misinformation. We get an oversexed overload from the media, but nothing in the way of honest, helpful, practical information on sex and how to do it right. That sucks, and I'm fucking sick of it. My name's JV Altheras, and I've spent a couple decades learning everything I can about how to have amazing sex and more of it. Not in a classroom like a lot of people who talk about sex. I learned it all in the gutter, right where Mom told me I'd end up. It's my mission to bring an end to the sexual dark age with brutally honest talk and education on all aspects of sex and sexuality, in an atmosphere that will keep you entertained without treating you like an idiot. Shara and I are not doctors. Certifiable, perhaps, but not certified in any way. And that means we don't have to talk about vaginas and penises to maintain academic credibility. You got a problem with a vagina? Call a gynecologist. You want to learn more about pussies and cocks and how to make them happy? You've come to the right place. Ending the Sexual Dark Age is now sponsored by the internet's most trusted name in adult toys. A happy pussy likes to play more often. AdamandEve.com is offering you guys half off on your choice of thousands upon thousands of vibrators and dildos and cock rings and strap-ons, nipple clamps, porn DVDs, butt plugs, pocket pussies, anything else you can imagine to either get yourself off or have some fun with your playmate. As always, we highly recommend making sex toys part of your sex life, and right now, AdamandEve.com is only asking for one chance to impress you. They're offering an awesome deal in support of ending the sexual dark age, and the whole thing goes a little like this. By typing Dark Age, all one word, for the offer code at checkout, you will get 50% off the most expensive item in your cart, with a few exceptions, free shipping, 3 free porn DVDs, and a sexy free mystery gift. Free DVDs are selected randomly and added to your order before they ship. AdamandEve.com is willing to damn near pay you to get off. So stop by, enter DARKAGE at checkout, and proceed to collect on an awesome deal. Or just follow one of the links on sexualdarkage.com. This is episode 37, another installment of the Advice Line. I apologize for getting this out so late, guys, but as some of you know, I have been in computer hell for about a week now. Technology is awesome, till it doesn't work. Then it makes you want to practice holding your breath underwater. To get things moving right along, first up on the advice line we have CL, who writes, So I have a not-so-average question about ED. The wifey and I are swingers, and a couple of weeks ago I encountered a bit of a snafu. I don't know if I'd call it a problem, but I've noticed that I have a bit too much fun when I'm exploring a new girl. It's actually more funness, not a word I know, than hotness, and thus I'm not actually getting hard while I'm doing all the touching and licking and other fun exploratory antics. Typically, I can get a condom on and get hard enough to enter a pussy. But this time, I wasn't able to. There are some mitigating factors. It was very dim in the room, and I used the house condom instead of my own. Oh, and there was a fish tank built flush into the bottom half of the wall we were facing. So I see 3 possible problems. A, I'm having too much fun. B, I'm misplacing my theory of fun and just have condom problems and need to diversify my condom training. Or C, bad lighting and an audience of novelty fish might not be my ideal environment. What do you guys think? Well, CL, there are plenty of guys who have an occasional bout of limp dick syndrome when there is nothing physically wrong with them. In your case, it sounds like an escalation of a general lack of wood during foreplay. I know what you're saying about the difference between mental and physical arousal, and it seems like you lean more towards mental when you're exploring a new playmate. This time, you're in an environment that was unappealing to you and trying to work with a random rubber, when it sounds like you're not all that comfortable with condoms in the first place. I don't know if you're generally naked during foreplay, but if you're not, I'd suggest trying it out. Willie might be a little more likely to get interested if he's flying around free and randomly rubbing up against a willing woman. There are plenty of guys who are uncomfortable with condoms in general, and I've heard from several who have no problem getting hard or staying hard but lose wood any time they try to put a condom on. The situational nature of the problem means it's psychological, and there are a bunch of ways to try dealing with it. One is to have your playmate get you nice and worked up, then wrap her thumb and forefinger around the base of your cock. If she squeezes firmly, her fingers will act like a cock ring, and they'll prevent any blood from flowing out while she puts the condom on. This leads to another possible fix or help, which is to distract yourself with something sexy, like a naked woman playing with your cock, so that you're aware of the condom as little as possible. For some people, hypnotherapy can actually work wonders on issues like this because there is a specific trigger. While hypnotherapy is a valid therapeutic technique, I do encourage anyone who decides to get it to do so from a licensed therapist and not the guy who puts flyers up on telephone poles. If the issue persists, or especially if it gets worse and none of the simple options help, you might want to mention it to your doctor just to make sure there isn't anything physical going on. Especially, as I said, if it gets worse. Next up, we've got a couple sex and religion items, starting with a comment from the website by Questioner, who writes, "Hey JV, I've been meaning to make a comment to this effect for a while. I think you need to give credit to religious people who are endeavoring to change their religion's repressive attitudes towards sex. While it's disheartening that the article was published and your comment was removed, other comments show that there are Christians working to have this issue taken seriously. There are a few sites talked about in the comments. One of the better ones is called The Marriage Bed, which has mostly sex-positive advice for married Christians. Have a look at the following article. It's remarkably factual for and by Christians." And then Questioner links the article, which I'll talk about in a bit. It goes on to say, the article points out that the Bible rules out things like threesomes and affairs, but there's nothing wrong with married Christians having oral sex. Remembering your anecdote of a guy who wouldn't accept a blowjob because that's demeaning, I hope these kinds of resources can dispel religious myths about sex. Some atheists and agnostics marry religious people, and as you mentioned in an early episode, many people sleepwalk through religion. You might want to consider talking about or linking sex-positive sites for religious people if you find good ones. Let me know your thoughts. Questioner makes some really good points here that are worth addressing. For those of you who don't follow the website, this is a comment on something I posted back in June, and there's a link to that item in the show notes. I checked out themarriagebed.com, and I've got to say, it probably is the most sex-positive Christian site that I've seen. I'm willing to give credit where it's due to anybody trying to promote healthier and more open attitudes towards sex, even if their version of open-minded happens to remain well within the bounds of the Dark Age. The article Questioner linked is called What's Okay and What's Not, and you can consider that subtitled According to the Bible. And that article is also linked in the show notes. It does a pretty thorough job of covering what the Bible does and doesn't actually say regarding various types of sex play. The whole site is based around sex between married Christian heterosexuals, and the authors stick to the party line on topics like premarital sex and sexual orientation. But in the process of writing this particular article, they do a pretty thorough job of debunking a lot of Christianity's sexual Dark Age dogma regarding supposedly forbidden sex acts. I was actually a little surprised and a little disappointed when I got to the few paragraphs in which they discussed BDSM, since it seems like this is the only place in the article where they base their opinions on speculation and assumptions. It seems dissonant with the thoroughness and tone of the rest of the piece. In any case, there are plenty of religious folks out there who would find a show like this maybe a little bit too much of an assault on their sensibilities, so I'm willing to call it a positive thing that there are places promoting better sex even for the profoundly religious. And for our second sex and religion item, we have a comment from Psyche, who writes, "Hi, I was re-listening to the podcast about shame and how religion plays a role. That got me thinking, what is your opinion of the ex-gay movement? I suspect many religious homophobes are secretly afraid of homosexuals, and the whole idea got started because the Jesus freaks think that if sexuality can be so easily changed, then they don't have to accommodate the gays with things like same-sex marriage. I've also noticed they seem to attract a lot of self-hating homosexuals. Any thoughts?" Well, the whole pray away the gay movement has been getting some press lately, due to the fact that presidential candidate Michelle Bachmann's husband, Marcus Bachmann, runs an ex-gay counseling center that has billed Medicaid over $137,000 for basically putting padlocks on people's closets. Furthermore, from the irony department, if you have ever seen a video of Marcus Bachmann, someone needs to offer that dude a job as Big Gay Al's stunt double. I mean, seriously. Guy's got more fabulous than a gay pride parade. As far as my opinion on the topic in general, I think the ex-gay movement is a result of a single thought process. God made you in his own image, and God hates fags, so homosexuality must be your choice, you filthy sinner. To acknowledge that being gay isn't a choice would be to acknowledge that God intentionally makes homosexuals, thus causing a dividing by zero type logic error that would make it unjust to loathe and vilify the gays. The saddest thing is the well-documented damage that the ex-gay movement does to people who are, by and large, confused teenagers raised in the darkest corners of the Dark Age. As we see proven over and over again when some famous former gay guy gets caught sucking dick in an airport bathroom or picking up a cabana boy on rentboy.com, it turns out you can't just pray away the gay. You can teach sexually confused teens to hate themselves and often drive them to substance abuse and suicide, but unfortunately those tragic stories rarely hit the national media. If nothing else, it's nice to see some light shined on this particularly insidious form of gay hate. But also, tragically, I wouldn't look for it to disappear anytime soon. And now Shara is joining us.
Hello.
What are you blushing already for? I'm going to give you a freebie on the bell. It was like, Literally, guys, I pushed record and her face went beet red.
I think it's because I feel like it's been too long since we've done this.
Well,
all the computer problems.
Oh my God, it has been terrible. You've been a champ through all of this, because I have been basically a hermit sitting at a computer with a pissed off look on my face for about 6 days.
That's okay. I always find something to occupy my time.
Yeah, we know. So there are a bunch of things I want to talk about with you on the show, and only a few of them have to do with the listener mail. But I want to start off with CL's question about his one occurrence of limp dick syndrome while he was playing with a new friend. Do you have anything to add to what I said?
Well, I think you kind of covered most of it, and I do believe it might just be that it was a one-time occurrence. So I guess I'd be interested in knowing when he plays again, if it continued to be an issue or not. You know, I think you gave some really great ideas, and hopefully some other people that'll be listening to it might have some other suggestions.
Now, have there ever been, this is not the first guy that I have heard from by a long shot, who had issues with condoms, no issues getting hard that weren't directly related to condoms. Is that something you've ever experienced before, in your parade of willies?
I've just never had a problem. I can't help it. What can I say?
And that would be Shara's first blush.
What can I say?
By the way, for the record, wanted to mention, yes, there have been a couple of questions. I do ring the bell when Shara blushes, but not every time she blushes, because then it'd be like a concert
Constant
over
bell.
here. Yeah. No, it's only when she blushes and tries to hide it from me that I ring the bell.
It's hard to hide it from you with the mic right here between us.
You've noticed that too, eh?
I do. So I turn my head as often as I can, but it's hard when I have to talk into the microphone. So I do the best that I can.
No, so have there ever been any conversations with you and your little pink mafia about issues related to this?
Yes, there have been. And there have been, some submissives that have had major issues with either their master or possibly if they are in some group play. And one of the other men that they're playing with, had difficulties. So one of the ideas, though, was what you brought up about having the female hold the base of the cock, and then, so that was one. So you actually kind of covered, I think, a really good place to be at with that. And I'd have to go back and look at my notes and see what we put down for other suggestions. But I will say this: we had one submissive in the group that she was really concerned and she had major issues going on, but they were able to deal with it. And I can't remember, I know it wasn't like Viagra or anything like that. So I know it wasn't Viagra, but they ended up working through it. I'd have to go back and look at my notes because I'm the gatekeeper of the notes.
Yeah, well, and, Viagra certainly is an option. Viagra is used by plenty of people recreationally, especially when, you might be working with 2 or 3 pussies in a given evening. But
darn, such a problem to have.
But yeah, I would, one of the reasons I didn't mention that earlier was I tend to lean towards non-pharmaceutical options.
I know, you're an all-natural.
Well, I wouldn't quite go that far. I've been known to have a friendly relationship with a recreational pharmaceutical or 2 over the years. Don't give me the googly eyes.
Why not? Okay, now don't do that.
All right, so the next topic was sex-positive Christianity. And questioner just made a suggestion, which was a good suggestion, that we throw a shout out there to some of the other sex education resources that, while they are, shall we say, generously much more conservative than we are.
Just a tad.
They're still trying to do a good thing, and make a positive change in people's sex lives. So, that's worthy of props. Well,
and as you know, I have a very dear friend that is extremely Christian and listens to our podcast all the time. And loves it, by the way.
Well, good.
Mm-hmm.
And, do you have anything to add on that particular topic? Experiences or friends, overcoming religion for good sex?
I think that a hard part is when you're a Christian, you fight internally with yourself because as he mentioned, and I believe it was him mentioning it, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that, like for instance, giving a blowjob could be demeaning. Threesomes are not okay, but blowjobs were okay, right? Oral sex was okay.
Oh yeah, actually that website is, pretty much in favor. They're in favor of anal. They're in favor of, making dirty movies as long as you don't plan on sharing them with people, you know. So they make some pretty good arguments.
Yeah, so it's a good link. But I think the hard part for people in general and why, you know, the sexual dark age is so important is you have to decide for yourself what is okay and what isn't, but don't get, you know, sucked into the, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to hell for this. Because I think that if you really are desiring something, you know, you still get after the whole lust thing. There's just a whole portion on religion. As you know, you covered a huge portion of it with the podcast, but it's very difficult because some people have these desires inside of them and then they're a Christian.
Well, it's the whole conflict of, you know, God made you exactly the way you're supposed to be except for all these ways in which you are wrong.
And to me, I believe this. I have a lot of Christian friends, as you well know, out there. I have a lot of Christian friends out there. And to me, what's important is what you believe in. So I think that the most important is a comfort zone for people. And I think that's a lot of what you try to provide, what we try to provide is a place to go to have questions, a place to go to look into things. And so I think that if we could provide more links and I could do some research on that, you know.
Yeah, why don't you? Because you've got more friends that are more likely to be able to give you something worthwhile, certainly, than I do.
So, exactly. So, and like my idea.
My friends are all pagans and bullwhips and shit.
It's, and it's funny how our circle of friends can have beliefs and yet still different beliefs and get along as well as they do. And
it's all about being able to have a good party.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, I think you're right there. But anyway, so I think that what is important is that they have a place that they could go to do the research and say, I'm comfortable with this. This I can do and this I feel comfortable with. So I think that the link is great just for giving some people some research. So I'll take some, homework and see if I can find some more links that might be very helpful for Christians out there that are, looking for a place to go and say, this is okay.
Perhaps a slightly less abrasive resource than they might find here.
Correct. Now, I didn't want to point any fingers or say anything like that. I'm just saying,
I wear it as a badge of honor. We're doing what we're doing, but, what we're doing is not necessarily going to be the most helpful thing for everyone out there.
Well, I think the hardest thing for a lot of people is, if you are a sexual person, but you also are a Christian, and a lot of them are like, oh, you can't do that because you're going to go to hell. Oh, you can't do that because you're going to go to hell. No one really knows if you're going to go to hell until you are dead and gone. No one can tell you what exists after life. No one can really tell you that. So I believe that if there's links out there that are helpful to these people, let's get them to them. So I'll do some research.
Yeah, and certainly out there to the audience, if anyone's got links to resources like that, just post them in the comments on this episode
Absolutely.
37.
Please.
So do you have any opinions on the Pray Away the Gay movement?
Oh my gosh. I had no idea when you were sharing this about Michelle Bachmann's husband. $137,000.
Yeah, it buys a lot of padlocks for closet doors.
Oh my. Give me a break. $137,000. That is like I just can't even believe it. Then in that case, we should be getting money for doing this podcast because we could help a lot of people.
Imagine how many people could have been taught to,
enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, because really, honestly, I thought that God was a loving God and loved all people for who they are. So if you're a person that you go to church every Sunday and you have a Christian belief, what they tell you is God loves you for who you are. If you sin, you ask for forgiveness. That's usually, I know in the Catholic religion, it's, God will, you ask for forgiveness and God will forgive you. So I'm having a real hard time about the fact that God creates people. If you're a Christian and you believe in God and God creates you, He creates you for who you are. And some people are supposedly born gay. I'd have to do more research on that because I haven't done a whole lot because...
Well, everyone I've ever known that is gay will tell you that they were, not only were they born that way, they knew, they might not have been able to identify it, but they knew at a very, very young age. It wasn't something they just woke up and realized one day.
Well, I mean, when I went to school, I could tell that this person is gay or is going to end up realizing that they're gay. And my point is that this is at a very early age that I noticed it. Okay. So people aren't like hanging around people and learning to be gay. They are born that way.
Right. Well, and that's, that's kind of the nexus of the logical disconnect.
So
it's obvious, but voluntarily ignored.
Well, all right. So it still brings us back to the point that God created this person, and you're supposed to love people as God created them if you're a Christian. So praying it away isn't going to take care of it. And I think that if you truly are a Christian, you're supposed to love people and not judge them. That's the other thing that is highly talked about in religious beliefs, is not judging others. So praying it away isn't going to do it. I mean, I just can't even believe $137,000. I am like stunned.
That's stunned. What the government paid him to teach people how to pray away the gay. That's not what he made. That's what he got from Medicaid.
That's sickening. But, to think that we, those who are out there working, okay, and Medicaid is covering this, that's one of the cuts that I would like to see happen right away, is cut that out, okay? That is just a waste of money. How dare they take our hard-earned money?
In the larger perspective, nobody's religious program should be getting subsidized by Medicaid.
Exactly.
It's not medical.
I mean, they want to, and I don't want to get off the track, but they want to talk about cutting defense work or cutting this and cutting that. You know what? We need to protect our country. What we don't need to do is we don't need to worry if somebody's gay or not. Let them be gay. Let them enjoy their life. Let them be out in the open the way they want to be, and forget about subsidizing, taking care of these people. They're who they are. Leave them alone.
And boys and girls, that concludes Shara's first tirade on the show. I'm so proud of you. You just let it go, just like I do. Just let it rip.
Well, seriously,
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
That's right, exactly. That is appalling to me that somebody would get that kind of money. When we have people out there that can't get medication, because they have no insurance or whatever.
Tirade over, baby.
Oh, darn it! I wasn't done. I think that Aaron and Belinda would say, "Keep on going," especially Aaron. I know she would support that.
She's a big believer in tirades in general.
She's good at it.
All right, so a few other things that I wanted to talk about. First off, this is the first episode since the show's first birthday. So happy birthday to the podcast.
Happy birthday.
It's been an interesting year. We got thousands and thousands of listeners now and setting new download records all the time, and it's pretty sweet.
It is, and you've had some really great downloads this past week.
Yep, and still some pretty strong downloads in various third world countries where arguably our message might do the most good.
Yes, it was nice to hear from someone that we have listeners out in Brazil, and I know we have them all over, and it's just kind of awesome that, people are interested, and it just goes to show that you do an awesome job. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, and I got an email. I don't remember if it was an email or Facebook message, but we got a message from a girl who had her first orgasm because of this show and our advice.
Wow, that's great.
And if there's
many, many more.
Yeah, exactly. If there is anything that will make you feel like a job is worth doing.
I have goosebumps on that. That's kind of cool. That is great. See, that's what you want to hear. So share those stories because, other people, we don't have to use your name, of course, but that's great to hear. And may more people come to the show and have more fun.
And on the topic of birthdays.
Oh.
Someone needs her birthday spankings.
I totally forgot, and I didn't wear underwear. I never do.
As if you would have still had it on.
I would have worn them tonight.
So, as my special birthday gift to you, you get to go pick what I spank you with.
Oh, I get to pick.
Yes. Now, I'm going to pause the recording here because she often, spends a little time thinking about it, figuring it out. So I'm just going to pause the recording. We're going to come back after Shara makes her decision.
I'd say the hand, but your hand is pretty darn hard to take.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, surprisingly, Shara has chosen a riding crop that I know she doesn't particularly like. And why don't you tell the audience why you picked this riding crop that you don't like?
Because it has a long handle on it, and I'm kind of hoping that, we have to be right here by the speaker that you won't be able to hit me with it as well because there's not enough room.
And yet, once more, my understanding of physics and spatial relations is just going to wreck you. Because, see, it was my plan all the time for you to be bending over with your face right by the microphone, thus giving me plenty of room to swing. Because I think, having the front end by the microphone will be more entertaining for the audience than having the back end by the microphone.
Oh, boy. Bad choice.
Let me make sure the audience can hear that. I'm just looking over here at the computer. And don't say anything, Shara. Oh, yeah, the audience can hear that. Okay. So, we're not going to give away anything by number of spankings. We're just going to go with plenty.
Ow. Mm.
Oh, quit forcing yourself to be quiet because you don't want the audience to hear you enjoying it. You think I don't see what's going on there?
All I'm saying is that as soon as we get off of here, I want to talk to you. Ow. Ow. Ouch. Ow. Thank you so much. Ow.
Okay, now spread your legs for me. Convenient thing about a riding crop, it's the same width as a pussy.
Oh, be nice, please.
Hey, spread those legs a little farther. Don't try to keep me out of there. What do you think you're doing?
Ow.
The audience deserves better than that.
Ow.
All right,
Thank you.
one more good one for the microphone.
Ow.
Oh, wait, that wasn't great.
Oh, yes, it was.
We'll get you right over here on the side of the ass right by the microphone.
Ow.
Wait, no, not quite.
Ow.
There we go. I think that was loud enough.
Oh, I hope so.
Happy birthday, baby.
Thank you. Ow.
And now you get to sit back down so we can finish recording.
Can I have a pillow, please?
If you'd like to grab one, there's one right there. Don't worry, I'll rub it and make it better later.
I know you will. Thank you.
All right, so a couple other quick things. Fun announcement. Shara and I are going to be recording some erotic audiobooks for Ravenous Romance, both for my titles with them and for some of their titles for other authors.
Yes, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, so we sent them some samples. They are my publisher, so a cool opportunity to do something new, and 2 short stories of mine that they're publishing fairly shortly. We are in the process of recording for audio. Now, well, we're in the process again, now that I have a functioning computer again. And one other quick announcement. Shara has redone the dialogue for A Shalar is Born, which was episode 36, the short story.
Yes.
So tonight I am uploading the new version of it. So if the one that you have does not say episode 36.1 on it, then it is the old version. So if you want to check it out and hear Shara talking all slutty and dirty and filthy like she naturally does.
May everyone come to that sound.
I'd say, yeah, so oh, is that still Sting, baby?
Oh, look at you, all sympathetic. Yes, it does.
I feel so bad for you.
I can see it, yes. It does strange things, though, you know?
Well, why don't you, here we are making a podcast about sex. Why don't we talk about the strange things it does? Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Look at that face you give. It makes me wet. As if you know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, what?
Go ahead and talk about the strange feelings you're getting.
I just get all,
Now, and for the record, that was a fairly quick no warm-up spanking, which you happen to like. Not all submissives do. Some submissives like a fairly significant warm-up, but pretty much everything with her is just like, turn it up to 11 from the first blow.
The first blow.
Just turn that shit up to 11 and give it to me.
Okay. Okay, so it's true, partially. I wouldn't quite say 11.
10 and a half?
Maybe. What can I say? It does fun stuff.
Yeah, so it's a pleasure to have you doing the erotica with me.
I'm going to enjoy it. It's been fun so far.
Yeah. And hopefully we'll be able to, and long term, Shara just might be narrating some complete audiobooks on her own. We're going to see how she feels about it, how much she likes it, and how much she dislikes the kind of monotonous, difficult nature of doing something like recording erotic audio. But
well, you teach me so well on everything else. I'm sure I'll be fine.
yeah, you're a good student.
If not, I'm sure you can find ways to correct me.
Oh, yes, I'm sure I can.
I'll have to put the schoolgirl skirt on, though.
Never a problem. All right, so birthdays for this episode. We have Stephen J. on August 23rd.
Happy birthday.
Angel Y, Paul K, and Chrissa L. all on August 24th.
Happy birthday.
Man, you're light. So many people had parents fucking at Thanksgiving. I think the old people went to sleep and all parents were fucking.
They were all thankful. What can I say?
Yeah. Paul B., whose birthday is 8/25.
Special happy birthday. All by himself on one day there.
And Ige B. And I hope I am not murdering your name. I am not sure what your native pronunciation is. So as usual, I do my best.
And happy birthday.
All right, so the last thing before we wrap it up here, we have some good slave reminded me that I haven't been giving homework lately. So I'm trying to come up with some more creative ideas for homework, and we're going to do something a little bit different this time. The next episode, actually the next couple of education episodes are going to be how to be a sexual dominant and how to be a sexual submissive.
Oh, yay.
Look, if you guys could see how excited she is. And then after that, we are going to do some episodes I've been half-assed meaning to do for a long time, and I think it's just finally time to get around to them. One episode on the battle of the sexes, relationships and communication between men and women, why they can be difficult, some ways to make them easier, and how they've changed over time, especially in modern times. And also what men want and what women want. And in order to support that, I am asking the audience, and of course, you're free to give me your list about me, baby. I am asking the audience to post comments or write into us with complaints about the opposite sex. The things about people they've been in relationships with that have consistently, from one person to another, aggravated them, things that they just don't understand about the opposite sex. Because I already have a fairly good list of these kinds of things from, my own personal research. But, for example...
Stalkers.
Girls, would you please just stop buying those fucking poofy toilet seat covers, please?
But they're pretty.
Yeah, you know what? You don't wake up with morning wood and your bladder overfilled, feeling like you're going to burst, hunched over a goddamn toilet, holding the seat up with one hand because it won't stay up on its own and pushing your dick down with another and feeling like a Chinese acrobat after you've been awake 30 seconds and thinking you're going to fall headfirst in the toilet and die. In a puddle of your own piss.
You need a miniature riding crop that you can just prop it there.
No, you need to not have the poofy toilet seat covers.
I never had the poofy toilet seat covers.
But so anything from relationship stuff to just, to just general stuff like that. We want to try to have some fun with it as usual and, get a good range of input and a good range of points of view. So the complaint department is officially open. Bitch about your boyfriends and girlfriends and spouses. Give it to us and we will sort it out and come up with the funniest, most entertaining stuff and make it part of those episodes.
And if you don't care if we mention your name, then that's fine. But if you want to make sure that's confidential, just say confidential on it somewhere.
Yeah, as always, we're running out of time because it's getting late here right now. But we're going to, on the next listener mail, one listener asked us to do kind of a complete rundown of all the different ways to get a hold of us and how to get a hold of us for advice requests and whatever else. So we're going to spend a few minutes on that on the next show.
Sounds good. 1-800-HELP.
1-800-BEND-OVA. OVA. Wonder if I could get that as an 800 number. I'm not sure exactly what I would do with it, but I think I could find something entertaining to do with it.
You think? Aren't you called Mr. Entertainment?
Am I?
Well, in my book you are. So.
Shameless flattery. All right, so anything else you would like to say to the audience before we wrap this show up?
I just want to say thank you for all the input and sharing and making this show what it is, because without the listeners, it wouldn't be what it is. So thank you.
And that brings us to a close for this much-delayed episode 37. Thank you as always for joining us, and please feel free to join the conversation by posting anonymously on sexualdarkage.com anywhere you like, emailing jvaltheros@gmail.com, and you can always find Shara and I on Facebook, Twitter, FetLife, etc., including our new group on FetLife through links on the website. And we are always appreciative of good ratings and reviews on iTunes. They do more than you think to get the show out to more listeners. Next episode, we will be returning to another installment of our BDSM guide with an episode called How to Be a Sexual Dominant. Until then, this be me, JV Altheros, reminding you that sex is one of the greatest things in life and there is always room for better.